Welcome. This is the Corner Cove Wellness Podcast. I'm here with my guest, Celeste Brinkerhoff. She'll be engaging us in some awesome conversation around holistic health. She's a holistic health coach. Celeste, why don't you share us a little bit more about what you do and let us know what we're getting ourselves into.
Yeah. Hi, Jared. Thank you. I am a passionate person who's interested in well-being creation. I've mentored under functional MDs, TCM practitioners, and more. And I really like to help people harness greater health.
That's awesome. One of the gaps I found in working with mental health, mostly with emergent family therapy, is that it's too linear. It's just talking a lot about the mental health side. It doesn't engage enough with the body, the soul, those other things that are really integral into being a holistic person. That's why I really enjoy working and collaborating with others like yourself, because you see that, you understand the collaboration piece. So today we want to hit some of those fun topics that bring it together and help people not only address the mind, but the body and the soul.
Yeah, you speak to that Cartesian dualism of the mind-body split. And a lot of psychiatry and psychology really does seem to focus very much on psychological symptoms, but it fails to recognize or empower patients perhaps on what they can do with their bodies, because the brain, where psychological symptoms occur, happens to live in a body, and that body lives in an environment.
Yeah, it's not going to live in a vacuum.
Yeah. You guys have done a beautiful job of creating a place in our county, which I'm grateful for, where people like myself who are passionate about health and minimizing disease burden can come and do things like personalized testing. You can do sauna, plunges, exercise with oxygen. So as a busy mom and working professional, I love that I can stack in a multimodal approach to caring for my physical body and then going out into the world and doing what I can to live with the reality. For me, I live with an SMI diagnosis. If you don't know what that is, it's serious mental illness. And I was diagnosed at a young age at 17, right? But I've already been able to overcome more odds than my peers, probably because of that background I had, being steeped in holistic functional medicine.
Yeah, and I appreciate you being willing to share not only your personal journey, but also things that have helped you along the way. I feel like there's a lot of people who could relate to the SMI diagnosis, and they may not even know they have it or have them in their lives, and they may not know how to heal or get better. Yeah. So having a place that attracts healing or attracts people who want to betterment of their entire system, that's kind of why we started Corner Cove. Essentially was to create a third space where people can come together, community heals together. Sometimes you just need someone to listen to, make a friend. You also need that place that is focused on healing.
Yeah, I agree. From what you've shared and what Nicole has shared about your backstory, you are here to support people with chronic health challenges. Mental illness can be one such chronic health challenge. Being in community, we know, is an antidote for one of the secondary symptoms of mental health issues, which is isolation, right? So being able to come and stretch and know my community in that way allows me a sense of normalcy and a sense of, like community, which brings healing and allows collaboration, which I value.
Well, and I also think that we need places that we can find our tribe. When Nicole and I set this up, our intention was to provide a place that everyone feels welcome, especially people who are genuine or are authentic and want to make friends and want to heal. Sometimes it's confusing for people. They think of us, are these guys like a gym? But Nicole and I are saying hi and talking to them and developing a relationship with them, and other clients are the same way. So if someone wants more of a sterile experience where they can just work out and hide with their headphones in and not be seen, this is probably not the place for them.
Yeah. This has given me community, connection, belonging, from yoga to the book club now. meeting ladies who weren't maybe members of your space, but adjacent relationships, right? And I appreciate that so much because we can combat stigma that way too, because sometimes people hear, oh, this is the crazy person in the village, right? And I'll call that name, I'll own that name, because I think it's important when we talk about language and the weight that it can carry. But through lived experience and relatability, and like recognizing I'm just an awkward person trying to figure this pose out, just like
Yeah.
you, we can, I think, help people feel like they belong. And that's another important antidote, and create safety in our communities.
Oh yeah, I love the ability to belong, to feel seen and heard. And another message that I think we try to relay to people is we're not exclusive. We're not catering to the top 1%. We're not that you got to spend a giant chunk of your savings to be here. It's not that. We're not poshy. We're not a rich place. And I don't know how I can emphasize this enough. Like if we were a gym, we're like the average Joes of dodgeball, but we're nicer. We're not. I'm not trying to say that we're not a nice place, but there is a sense of put your mask away. Don't have to be perfect. Don't have to have your best, whatever you call it, outfit and your perfect makeup to come here. Like just come and be yourself. Come be yourself and connect from a real place, so that you're not holding yourself back from genuinely being seen and heard, or helping someone else be seen and heard.
Right. I feel like you guys are this responsive place, but they are really bougie and nice. The facilities are top notch. But I can come here and I maybe found tears on the mat and I hadn't been able to cry in years. How therapeutic to be witnessed in my vulnerability. I love that. And to have responsive leaders that are like, hey, it's spring break, and maybe some of these moms want to get the kids out of the house, and then suddenly you're creating a kids yoga class during spring break, which creates a pressure valve for families. So I really am super excited about the whole suite of offerings and would love to help share for our listeners ways in which I've accessed these tools, and you can help unpack more of the benefits I think that they could gain when they become a member and start partaking of the services you have.
Well, first of all, I totally respect and I'm grateful for that sentiment of leaving tears on the mat. Like that's beautiful to me. That's what we hope for. As a therapist, I tell this to my wife all the time, and it's kind of jokingly, but like if I hear tears or see tears in a session, I feel like there's some progress. If there's no tears, I'm sensing like, am I doing an okay job? Am I helping this person? But to create a community space that allows people to be vulnerable with others, that's more powerful. It's way more powerful.
Yeah, it definitely took me by surprise that day, but it was like, yep, Danny was right. I'm storing stress in my hips. And now the dam is breaking. The tears are coming. That's progress. It's connecting the mind into the body, or it's reminding my mind that the body's endured a lot, and together we can unify them and create longer telomeres. We can decrease inflammation, but it starts with awareness and maybe willingness to change, to disrupt some of your patterns.
Well, this is
get in the door.
One of the pieces that I find powerful in yoga and other practices is that we're connecting the head and the heart. And a lot of times when I work in therapy, we use terminology like they're dead from the neck down. Like get them alive, get the body moving. And the talk can only do so much. You have to somehow engage the body. So yoga and breath work, sound baths, other models that make the body move and let that flow, it connects the head and the heart and allows the whole system to engage. So those stored memories, those stored traumas or triggers, they can come out.
Yeah. I feel like 30 years in therapy where it was very siloed, right? We had the mind over here and the body over here. And what I was paying for or medicating was the mind over here. And the body was just like a bag, a knapsack that I'm dragging along through this ride. And now finally, because of this facility largely and some of the self-advocacy I've done, I've been able to start like, okay, wait, what is my gut doing with regard to my mood? And what is breath doing when it comes to how I am being reactive or anxious? What can I take control of and actually maybe emancipate myself from therapy eventually one day by having ownership of all the moving parts that are body, mind, and spirit?
I love that term, emancipate. It's like the teenager's dream when they're in a bad house, like emancipate me from my parents. Probably don't really mean it. But I look at, so Native American healing, I've done a little study into that. And one of the pieces I really like about it is they talk about how when someone manifests the illness, like you said, the sick person, it's pretty common for that person to be brought in and prayed for, loved. They sing to them, they dance with them. They might even have a full ceremony just for that person to really help them be part of a community. But in our Western medicine, we tend to silo people. Oh, you don't fit in, go take a lot of medications, go sit in the corner until you can function in society. So we kind of flip that around when we build a community for people, that you can still have your weaknesses, your illnesses, and they can come together and your weaknesses can grow and heal. They might support somebody else too. So when I see things like long-term illness or schizophrenia or borderline or personality disorders, whatever those are, in our system of siloing, they don't heal without a community, about people celebrating that other person and helping them become enhance their gifts and become healthier through connection.
Right. I appreciate that. And stigma, that word might mean that it's like a mark you bear. And so when we have youth getting diagnosed at young ages and taking on a label, and maybe teachers know about it, or maybe they have to go to the school's nurse often, or maybe they're in a special program, they're inherently picking up some emotional baggage. And I'm with you 100% in that if we can see them in their totality and not that is all they are, and limit their capacity by the label they've been given, I think we do a lot to help everybody be better informed about unique presentations of behavior, and also things that are just maybe genetic, maybe environmental, trauma responses, who knows, right? We all can learn a lot from each other.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to kind of your earlier conversation of, do we know our baselines? Are we figuring out where the line is? As a therapist, I don't like to give people diagnoses. I don't like to give them labels. I don't like them to own labels or even diagnoses. I try to focus on the solution and the healing piece a lot more and go from that angle instead of, here's all your problems. Take your pile of problems with you, right? So maybe you can speak to the importance of baseline testing for children and for adults, and how to take that into a non-label way that you can be productive.
Yeah, I really appreciate that question. And it took until 2019 and much trauma for me to figure out through self-study that I needed to ask more questions of my treatment team. And I did. I started with the genetic testing because I had heard that there were these things called single nucleotide polymorphisms, which are inherently maybe bad copies of certain genes that are responsible for, in this case, an enzyme or two. And what a fascinating discovery, and what a stigma-free realization. Like, oh my goodness, my whole life, these big behavior sets, these symptom sets were really related to folate metabolism. Folate is a B vitamin, and the way it is converted and utilized by individuals can have a unique set of symptoms, anything from brain fog to MS to miscarriages, high homocysteine, or in my case, it was psychological symptoms. But it was like, what? This isn't just a DSM category. Right. It was very much biological. So now for my coaching clients, there's the opportunity for them to assess and not just guess at what supplements they need or what meds they need even, but actually let's take a unique snapshot of your body, because everybody's individual. what made them up as individual. And there's two important things that I think relate to mental health, and that's COMT and MTHFR genes. And so I can cheek swab folks. They can take that information and better advocate with their care providers. And you guys do something really cool that I like. I had it done myself, and it was the oligo scan. And through that oligo scan, which you can better explain the science, but I learned like, oh my goodness, I'm dealing with some things, even though I'm taking high quality nutrients, might still have some signs of metal in my system or not enough zinc. Zinc and copper ratios are really important in mental health. So you give me stuff that is not at all about moral behavior. It's biological. I can treat that effectively. I can ask more questions, right? And I'm not just a bad person. I'm having a B vitamin failure.
Yeah, that's a big differentiator. It's, we tend to label quickly, moral behavior bad or making mistakes bad. The kid with the presentation of ADHD bad. But maybe there's an imbalance there. Maybe there's a biological factor. Maybe there's a diet issue. Maybe there's a gene mutation. And if you don't have a good baseline to really understand that, how are you going to figure it out? Yeah, that's the holistic piece, right? You've identified some weaknesses in the system. You've addressed them systemically. And then you look at, well, how can we now further relieve the system? Can we teach our children some breathing techniques? My wife does breathing classes here, and it's been fun because some of the teachers from the school come over, and they're borrowing the things that they're learning, and then they're going to the classroom. And we had just the other day, our son's like, oh man, Mom, they're teaching your stuff in my class now. And it's kind of cool. It's kind of fun.
That's a great ripple.
It's a little ripple going on. So that kind of fills in a gap that people didn't even know they had an option. But you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
So when you start putting those options out there, creating more opportunities, people tend to do better.
Right. And it can empower individuals to know not only their nutritional baseline and their genetic makeup, like the level of the gene, I'm always going to be low in magnesium. And that's that important cofactor to support COMT function. So magnesium's always going to be something I need in great amounts. But you give them these snapshots, they can become the drivers of their own health journey in a way, right? And they can tailor their care, and they can know early in life, well, stress is going to be my Achilles heel. How am I going to manage that? How am I going to have better sleep quality? Am I going to eat foods that inflame? Or am I going to eat foods that support longevity and health and a quiet system?
When we learn about those baselines, we start to see, I've done some research with ADHD, especially. I'm trying to help bridge the gap in holistic health and ADHD. And one of the common factors is the majority of the kids are low on magnesium. And if you simply focus on that first, getting the magnesium into their system on a regular basis, a large majority of them no longer manifest with ADHD. They start to regulate and they act normal, and they're not as distracted, or they might have better focus. And that's just one of many simple things that people can do. But if they don't know that, they haven't tested for that, or they haven't even experimented with it. That's one of those, you don't even necessarily have to take a test. You could just, hey, let's get you some magnesium for a few weeks and pay attention. Anecdotal evidence will show the majority of those kids are going to show big improvements.
I like that. But what that's going to beget is behavior change, which can be tricky. Where you start to learn, you start to connect the mind to the body, people begin to realize input creates output on all the levels. Well, then suddenly you have to become a little bit more conscientious about how you shop, how you prepare your food for your family, how you manage your time, right? And that's where holistic health coaching comes in, is that individuals can sort of self-direct their journey. And then my role as a coach is to support them with loving accountability. Okay, you want to fix this. You want to start working out with oxygen, or you want to lift weights more. How do we troubleshoot that reality gap, right? You see that with ADHD care. How do you get these families to move the needle a little bit over here toward more optimal function?
Well, and if you're not familiar with health coaching, it's a great value. I mean, if you look at what helps people change, it's accountability. And health coach is a good bridge. A doctor's not going to go into your house and look at your pantry, or, oh yeah, take that out, throw that out. Or They're not going to show up with you at the gym and say, did you hit the weights? Or they're not going to watch your food diet very tightly. They don't have the time or the training for that. Yeah. So where you've taken the energy from personal experience, developed your skills, been trained on health coaching, it's a great value. Like if you really want to make a change, you have to be willing to have someone hold you accountable. I call that accountability partners.
Yeah.
When you have an accountability partner, they text you or call you, you want to be able to report that you did something.
Yeah.
But if no one's calling or texting, who are you reporting to?
It's much easier to have these lofty visions and then not execute, right? But I love that, loving accountability. Health coaching is an evidence-based practice. Can help with reducing problem drinking, problem substance use, weight loss, mental health, ADHD. But even me, like as a coach, knowing how behavior change works, I'll still set an unreasonably high goal for myself. Right. And if I don't have a coach kind of leveling with me, being like, yeah, getting rid of everything besides 5 outfits and 2 pairs of shoes is not realistic, then I'm going to feel disappointed and I'm going to beat myself up. So a coach can help you do things that are small, time-bound, measurable, realistic, and help you commit to yourself.
You set a goal that's not crazy hard, that can be tracked and managed, but you're going to get those small wins. Those small wins accumulate. In habit creation, one of the things I like about it is if you just start daily with the simplest thing, it might be like putting your running shoes on the edge of your bed. Doesn't mean you actually put them on, but you put them on the edge of your bed. Then the next day you might look at them and say, I'm going to put those on. The next day you might say, I'm going to walk out the door. The next day you might say, I'm going to run for 10 feet. Like it's having that little bit by bit growth that makes those goals come together. But the all or nothing thinking is the non-accountability way. So I'm going to go run a marathon tomorrow. And lo and behold, we hurt ourselves or discouraged or cannot do it. So we quit.
Yep. And we start to feel defeated, right? And even for me, like I love that little habit triggers or things to remind us of where we want to go. Life can be this massive mountain. If you've got the ropes and the carabiners, what are you going to belay yourself with? Right. It's intention, right? For me, I might not be there. I might not be with a house that's organized and clear and streamlined like I would like. But I look at a note I wrote on a Post-it card thing that said, I make space for grace. I wrote that when I was in the thick of parenting in a 5-person household. I didn't feel like I had a lot of autonomy or power or grace, right? So now as I'm actively moving and reshaping the interior of my soul and my physical space, I'm like, you did it, Celeste. You're catching up with that thing you stuck on your mountain of life. That intention you had, you're getting there. You're becoming more aligned with that goal you set. Yeah, that's how I've built that's how I've kept myself alive, to be honest, and just get up, try again. Failure's part of it, but through the process of like dialogue with a coach or a therapist, becomes easier to take less time achieving your goals.
And when you say space for grace, what I hear is you're allowing yourself to like forgive yourself, to love yourself for not being perfect or not being who you think you should be at a certain level already. And I see sometimes people will measure themselves up to other people or where maybe they think they should be, and that takes away a lot of their joy. And it sounds like during your biggest struggles, it's like, should I even do this? What am I doing this for?
Yeah, I've especially crucified myself with all these goals and intentions of doing the work of health coaching for mental health. I'm like, I want to be the Marie Forleo of madness and like the Tony Robbins, liberate people from their suicidal ideation. And I know how to keep them alive. I believe I do. But it would be like impossible with reality. There wasn't time to execute the way I wanted to. So it would be this dance of, do I just get rid of all the books because I'll never have time anyway to do it? Or do I keep carrying that tote between moves, get back to that eventually? I don't know. But making space for grace is about, yes, having self-compassion that I'm a human in process and hoping to not be so hard on myself.
One of the healing mountains I've seen with working with clients is when they come to a place of acceptance. And I usually would use, we'll call it a litmus test. You know, I'll do it on you, okay?
Okay.
Well, we'll have fun with this. I'll say something like, the world is exactly as it should be. And we'll sit in that. What do you feel when I say that?
I noticed my brain went to reach for a butt, right?
Right.
Immediately, but then your invitation to just sit in it, and then it makes me want to pull back and just ponder that.
So there's that instinct is, well, no, it's not, you know, but it should be this way, that way, and then the other. And that kind of gives us a gauge of if we're running or if we're living presently. So if we're living more presently, our world is exactly as it should be today. You know, it should be today. I have my family, I'm alive, I'm breathing right now. You can start to pull in the gratitude straws and be aware of what you have. But as soon as you go to that but or it should be, you lose the gratitude and you live outside of the present, live in tomorrow or somewhere else. So if you want to know if you're grounded or not, it's a good litmus test. If you want to know if you're living presently, it's a good reminder. And that great space for grace, it has to be in the present. You have to take it to now, or else you won't give yourself that.
You won't. And I think it's so important when people are on that razor's edge of self-harm, suicidal ideation. Grace can be a minute-by-minute thing, choosing a diaphragmatic breath in that moment when their voice or amygdala is raging at them, their inner critic is berating them. What can shift? What can create a little break in the synapses? Oxygen.
Oh, for sure.
Right? Literal breath is grace in my book.
Right. And I know in my own experience, creating that little gap has been life-changing for me. I've had to find ways to separate from my emotion and my analytic side. Yeah. So for me, one of my old things that I used to really struggle with was reactivity. If I played sports with someone or if I was hanging out with friends and something happened to me, like say someone hit me in the back of the head or something, my instant reaction was to be angry. There was no gap at all in my synapses. It was just fight, go fight. But what I started to learn was if I took a deep breath, don't respond yet, and I asked myself an analytical question like, what do I want to have happen here? Or what would I like to see the outcome be? That immediately pulls me out of my emotion and into my analytical part of my brain. And now I can take a few more breaths and move to the next piece.
I love that. It's like what Marsha Linehan describes as finding the wise mind, that beautiful vesica between rational thinking and emotional thinking. We have that sweet spot.
Yeah. And it takes practice. It takes development.
It does.
That's why one thing I like about yoga too. They never say you're perfectly good at yoga. They say, how's your practice? Yeah. And life is a practice. When we see it that way, we're always practicing. We're always trying to learn from our mistakes and grow and become better at living in a way that creates harmony in ourselves. So when we take those practices seriously, I feel like we can definitely give ourselves that grace and we can grow into maybe not our vision of our best self, but a more ideal version to live by.
I like that ability to practice acceptance and being committed to the practice of life.
Yeah, there's a whole model of therapy around that called acceptance commitment therapy, or ACT, that at a personal level, it's really just that. It's just taking things as they are, not overdoing it, not underdoing it, but being present with it and allowing yourself that grace.
I think that's so important. And I think also to bring in the biological component, a person may not have capacity to be less than reactive or explosive if there are excitotoxic noises or deficiencies. So how do we troubleshoot those here at Corner Cove Wellness? Maybe you want to talk to us about the value of the hot sauna and the cold plunge, for example.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we're thinking about excitotoxins, what are those? Let's describe them. Essentially, our brain it's going off. It's getting too much. We have so much noise today. We have so many stimuli, from social media to sports to TV to everything. There's so much stimuli that our brains will start to get overwhelmed. And those excitotoxins, when they fire off, they can actually cause some neuron death. And when they cause neuron death, they release toxins. And those toxins, they kill the neurons around them, and it can be a chain reactive effect. So if you're living in an excited state, your system is in fight or flight, and it can't relax. It can't get back to homeostasis and let go of that junk and stop the dominoes from falling. Now, if you're pushing a bunch of dominoes, eventually you got to pull a couple pieces out to stop the chain from going.
Exactly.
Or else you're going to knock them down forever. But, every good kid, when he's building his domino collection, he knows to not put them all perfectly at first, because if he screws up one block, he locks them all down.
Yeah.
You got to keep a few gaps in there. Well, things like sauna, cold plunge, neurofeedback, exercise with oxygen, they can create some of those spaces to get you back to a reset. Yeah. And then when you're resetting, okay, things can calm down. I can get back to regular life and potentially not overwhelm myself. And I like to look at it this way. When I work with clients, there's two things you can do to help reduce things. Like, you can take away stress and you can increase capacity.
I like this.
One of the problems I see with therapy is people focus so much on increasing capacity, and they don't focus enough on reducing stress.
Yeah.
And things like sauna, cold plunge, neurofeedback, these things, they actually reduce, they take away. So you have, essentially, instead of having to always grow your capacity, you're expanding your range to have more to work with.
And to give you a corollary to validate that concept, with the MTHFR mutations, my liver is going to struggle to excrete the amount of toxins I breathe in a day. Well, I have a hack, which is your sauna, because now through the skin, I can release toxins that enzyme can't quite do for me. Same with the catecholamines. They can come out, stress hormones, the extra estrogen, the extra testosterone that I cannot metabolize can be secreted through my skin very passively. It's not something I have to do. I get to sit in that beautiful, hot, well-lit space and have some essential oils, which is going to reach deep into the brain, into that old brain, and help me feel safe in the moment and know that I'm doing something good for myself. And I really love that. And oxygen, too, is going to help people have what we call neuroprotection, because yes, you can do all the stuff in therapy to build capacity. You can go to all the groups. But if you're still in an environment where, we're not living perfectly, there's Cheetos, there's Diet Coke, Takis, that creates excitotoxic noise just from the food alone, which shortens the telomeres, which gums up receptor sites. It's inflammatory, right? So oxygen is sort of the buffer against these environmental noises, and it can help lengthen the lifespan of individuals who have been stuck in that fight, flight, or freeze mode forever. My system got trained very early to be looping in that stress loop, and I'm going to always have to practice, stop, reset, rebuild, because the dominoes fell. Oops.
Right. My wife catches me breathing wrong all the time, and she's like, hey, stop. Breathe it all the way down to the bottom of your belly. Let it all the way out.
That's awesome.
Hold it this long. Let it go this long. And I'll have her come talk a little bit about it. But I get that same way. Like I get stressed. Add the work things, add the family things, the money things, the kid things, and pretty soon it's like,
Yeah.
you don't even realize it. Like a dog just panting all the time, and that's really hard on the system. It's putting you in that chronic place. And when you're in a chronic place, it builds up.
Well, and it's contagious. This is not to give mom's guilt, dad's guilt, but it's just what science is now starting to figure out. Interpersonal neurobiology is a thing. And so If I'm trying to regulate another human and calm them down, and I myself am like, it's rugged, and I'm breathing in a jagged manner or whatever, that ripples out. And then even the stress changes what microbes are off-gassing, and I breathe that out. And therefore, the biology around me quite literally is a cloud of stress that the other person might inhale. And so not to like laden you with guilt, but just think about all these small, tiny things actually are shaping our experiences. And how often are we actually seizing the opportunity to grab it by the reins? I don't know. I'm failing at it often, but I'm at least knowing, I know like, oh, yeah, this is this.
I
Wow.
thought sometimes if we could see that stuff, like if you had, say you could put like a glow on it, that, like my oldest son always catches me. He's like, Dad, you okay? He hears me do one of my classic out breath of frustration or stresses.
Yeah.
And he just knows from hearing me from 10 feet away and maybe breathing in my stress that, oh, Dad's not great today. There's something going on. But I wonder if we could like just visualize that and see, all right, I just breathed out a cloud of stress. My loved ones just breathe it in, whatever those things are. If we could bring them more into our awareness, could we pay more attention? Could we, all right, I'm going to make sure I'm taking time for me so that I don't hurt others. Like we have one mom who comes here and she's wonderful. She brings her son and does a great job helping her son with our services. But she's so stressed and she's so tight. And she's so wound up. And my wife asked her the other day, she's like, hey, you want to do some like breath work? You want to do some of these other things? And she said, I'm really just focusing on my child right now. I don't have time for me. Can you speak to that as a mother? Like, what does that do to your family system if it's just about the child?
I love that. And I have compassion for her journey because it is very hard to figure out how to juggle priorities and triage who needs the care most, whose oxygen mask needs to go on first. I feel it is critical, though, as the provider and the person who's attuning the home, the adult in the house, right? We're setting the tone. You got to figure out how to put yourself first. And when I was going even through legal processes, I told the people who were involved in our case, I'm like, all right now it's got to be all eyes on me. Watch what I'm going to try to do with this very terrible circumstance. And then now, then it pivots when I get enough fortitude mentally, physically, spiritually, know what my skills are, know that I can walk in nature, listen to birds, engage my five senses on the fly. Then I can shift that focus, and next in line to get that fortification, all eyes on her support, is the other individual sharing my home. But it's going to have to scaffold back and forth, right? As needs change, hormones change, who should be prioritized. Life has cycles. And I think it's about having skillful means, which is to say instinct, intuition, and awareness. And also some humility. It's okay as a parent to decide, I'm tapping out.
Right.
You will not see me. Call for help. Call for a neighbor to back up, do some childcare, and go fall apart so you can find the reset and you can have space in your nervous system again so that you're not secreting very real chemical signatures out of your mouth of stress. It's sad, but it's true.
So true. I know with me, there's times where I work really too much and I'll sometimes go through cycles where I'm building a new business or setting up something and it just starts to gobble up like Pac-Man, all my extra time. And the first things I let go are my self-care routines. I'll stop exercising. I'll stop sleeping well. I'll stop eating well. So I'm on the go. I'm hurrying. I'm hustling. And at some point, I will crash. My body will say, you're going to be sick for like a week. You're going to be in bed. You're going to be ill. You're going to be sore. And then I have to remember, like, all right, I'm not listening to my body. Mm-hmm. And I think moms do that like pros. Like they don't get a chance to be sick. Like even if they're sick, they're still working. Their bodies are just like, well, that's what we got to do. And then does it turn into something chronic? Does that develop multiple sclerosis, that develop Lyme disease, that develop or allow those latent diseases to just kind of open up. And then it's a really big reminder, hey, now you're not going to live as long because you've been stealing from your future to take care of your today.
100%. We know chronic stress thins the gut lining, and that is one of our biggest protectors against things like Lyme disease or other infections. And the body craves and needs homeostasis. So if we're not giving it a chance to arrive at homeostasis, it will alter blood sugar metabolism to get our attention. So then you might wind up pre-diabetic. It will give you hypertension in an effort to achieve homeostasis. Blood pressure will change because the body's going to do what the body needs to do to find equilibrium if we don't meet it halfway. And for me, I know I walk a razor's edge with that. I know, like, kind of my edge, I can push it about this far, and then I might wind up impatient. And then there's 14 days where there's no one momming. And that's a more extreme example of what burnout can look like if we don't attend to prioritizing ourselves as parents.
Yeah, and if we go back to the telomere communication or conversation with telomeres too, the more chronic stress our body is under, the more stress our telomeres are under. Do you want to explain what telomeres are and why they're so important?
Yeah, and I'll do a faulty job with this, but they are like the little cellular antennas that help shape how DNA is replicating. I believe they have a lot to do with DNA and RNA synthesis. And so life can shorten them. The chronic stress shortens them. Things can regrow telomere length. There is new medicine on the horizon that will help grow telomere length, doing things that are going to support neuroplasticity, like mind-body spirit connections, oxygen therapy, allowing yourself to detox so you don't have all that brain garbage in there, will help give your telomeres a chance to regrow. And dementia and Alzheimer's been actually problematic for the boomers, right? Why is that? Because they just stuffed everything. They bucked up and they pulled themselves up by their bootstraps. They pretended that they didn't have a mind, body, or soul. They just had duties, right? And so fact is that had an impact on their cognitive health and the level of inflammation that they carried quietly, not talking about it. So now this generation, we're more about like, yeah, we're flaunting it all, but that is empowering, right? We can know what our body's mechanisms are, what the machinery is, and we can consciously work with that machinery to give ourselves a greater likelihood of not getting a chronic disease.
Yeah, if we simplify it, in my view, there's hope, there's horizons that are bringing things back together as we find health channels. But if we don't find those health channels, if we're not constantly seeking to improve, things like telomeres, the shorter they get, the shorter life gets. Mm-hmm. There's a popular blog a few years back that really stood out to me. It was called Wellness Mama. She's probably still famous, probably living on an island somewhere, who knows. But she started her blog after learning that the current generation being born was projected to die before her. Wow. And that was based on the current environmental health, the state of the world. So she's like, I don't want to die before my kids. That's like an absolute nightmare. So she focused on changing her home health and sharing that online to improve health and get that out there. So if we want to improve our telomere health, we need to reduce chronic stress. We need to reduce chronic inflammation. We need to stop bubble wrapping our health with quick fixes. Like, I'll just say it, like all the weight loss drugs and things, they're bubble wrap. Mm-hmm. Maybe there's a medical necessity for someone, but it shouldn't be the number one selling drug in the world. We should be focusing on lifestyle changes that are lasting.
Well, and it's inconvenient to do it. And this is what I believe very much, that we teach what we need to learn. I am a health coach because I need to constantly be coached through life. It's those little moments, like I'm on the go a lot because there's this new program running that shifted our routines. And I have a choice, and that choice is in the moment in the coffee shop. I really want that sweet latte with 4 shots because that sounds great. It's Thursday and I'm tired. But I can actually look at the menu and make a choice that's going to be a little bit more health promoting. So I wound up choosing the rooibos tea, unsweetened with the almond milk. Maybe they put a splash of agave in there. And instead of going and sitting in a noisy coffee shop and cramming more information into my ears, which is my other favorite habit, I went and walked around the South Ogden Nature Park, took in the birds, listened, mindfully engaged my senses, felt the cool air. And I think that just gave my telomeres at least some tiny microscopic opportunity to hold on a little longer.
I like that you mentioned that cramming more information in your head is not necessarily healthy for you. I think sometimes we misunderstand, like, hey, as long as I'm learning something, it's not bad for me. But I do the same thing. I'll over listen to podcasts or I'll listen to books, and I think it's healthy, it's good, but I'm not taking time to see or notice in people. For example, I was running out doing a rare run. It's rare for me. I was out running this morning and I was listening to my book and it was interesting. It was really cool. But there was probably 4 or 5 times I passed somebody that I could have like said a hi to. I tried to say hi, but I can't hear anything. They can't hear me. It's probably just a quick wave. And maybe even an opportunity to talk to an older lady that was out in her yard that I would normally probably say hi and have a small conversation and smile and engage. And I might even hear the birds and I might even notice things a little more. So that's just interesting you bring that up. I haven't really been conceptualizing that could be putting extra stress on my system by not taking time to be in, I don't know if it's yin or yang, it's one or the other, in a state of restore instead of a state of stress.
Well, and dropping into our simple senses and letting that be enough information gathering. Wow, I saw a bunch of isopods. I heard a bunch of birds that I don't know how to identify. I saw a couple ladies wave and we engaged with meaningful eye contact, right? And that was a lot of information gathering. Felt very acutely the temperature and how delightful it was with a little bit of overcast skies and sun warming and dancing around the mountains. And then it felt like, space in my nervous system, space in my head. It's not my first thought, right? Because we were in this bigger, better, faster, stronger mindset in America. Well, is there a cost to that? I don't know.
Yeah, I want to say one more thing and then maybe take a break. But I was looking at my own self, and in my past, some of my best resets I've ever had is when I go off grid. So we used to go to Lake Powell, and phones didn't really work. We didn't really have a lot of time at night. Like, you were tired. We'd swim all day. We'd play, fall asleep to the sun going down, wake up to the sun coming up, and the crows cawing because there's crows everywhere down there for some reason. But after like a day or two, you're like, I feel like I'm not sleeping good. But by day 3 or 4, I would just feel amazing. Like, my circadian rhythm was reset. I was in tune with nature. I'm grounding a lot. I'm letting go of all the extra junk. The stress of the world is gone. Just hearing the splash of the water,
Yeah.
And you come back to reality if leave that trip, and within a couple of days, it's like all the buildup happens again. So I don't know. For me, like, how do we balance that? How do we have the mini vacations daily, hourly?
I think that's a totally individual choice, but I know for me that hour prioritized on just quietude and a less stimulating beverage was something that allowed for me to go more presently into my live learning class, which is an hour and a half. It allowed me to be more able to be flexible with my daughter, and I think it was a win. And it has me craving it. And so I'm not like, I wonder what's going to be on YouTube. I'm like, no, I need to go listen to more birds and feel more crisp air on my skin. That felt inherently restorative. Right. And it didn't cost any money. It was available to me. Little pocket of heaven right here.
I feel the same way. We put in a lot of things that we personally use in our lives that we felt would be a value add to this community. I believe that if there's something not in a community and you really want it, you should create it. So here at Corner Cove, we do have a system of helping people come in. We'll offer people a free week of trying our services. We'll go through like a consult setup where we just want to see if what we have can help them, as well as explain to them how to use our services. A lot of the pieces we have here do allow you to come in on your own time as long as you know how to use them. So
Yeah, tell us a little bit more about how people could get started and have that consult, because for me, it really unlocked a lot of information I wasn't aware of.
yeah, so if someone just calls us or reaches out to us online, they can book a consult. It's just 15 minutes of their time. They'll come in, we'll give them a little tour, we'll explain each piece, and then we'll ask what is their goals, like what are they looking for, help them understand some of the health pieces we have. We know we don't have them all, but we might have some that are very supportive. And we might give them an opportunity to test out some of their baselines. We offer, in addition to the wellness consult, a device called Oliga Scan. Essentially, it's a device that can read mineral levels, heavy metal levels, and if they want to go a little deeper, we can do that testing on them for an affordable price. We basically just charge the cost that it costs us to give them that opportunity. And then if they determine like, hey, I need a little more support, we also work with coaches like yourself that can fulfill their goals and have a report to work with amongst other things.
Oh, I love that. They can get some baseline things to help guide the process of change that's personalized to them. But I want to have you back it up a little bit, because
Sure.
the way I found out about Corner Cove Wellness was as a little mom driving around this main street in Morgan. I saw your sign out. I'm like, wellness? A wellness studio? I need to check it out. So they go to www.cornercovewellness.com. Do they
That's right.
need to register as a member before they can book this consult, or how
So-
does that work?
So you don't have to be a member, but we do have you create a login. So
Okay.
our system's all login based, and we have like a confidentiality agreement. Basically, it's the standard stuff like safety, those things. If you come use our facility, you agree to not hurt yourself or cause trouble, that kind of stuff. So every account requires that to be signed
Sure.
to come in, but it doesn't engage in any cost or fee to do that. So
Okay, so I've got to go online, sign your liability waivers, book this consult, and start to peel back the layers underneath.
exactly.
Like what I'm feeling, how I could feel better. You guys are doing awesome things. That scan helped me realize that I could just switch up the way and form of zinc I was taking, and it started to make a big difference in my brain fog.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing when you notice just a few little things that you could tweak and change your course just a little bit like that. And before the Oliga Scan too, we would walk you through the different services. So I'll just go over the ones that we mainly offer.
Yeah, please.
We have this device called Exercise with Oxygen, and it's essentially concentrated oxygen, about 93% proof oxygen. And you wear a mask. You could be a jet fighter while you ride a bike or a treadmill or whatever you're on. For about 15, 20 minutes, you breathe in that deeply concentrated oxygen, and that has a lot of restorative benefits, especially to your cells and mitochondria and other pieces of your body.
Oh, I love that, because mitochondria have been implicated in almost any disease process. If the mitochondria is weak and unhealthy, a whole host of other symptoms can happen, especially in mental health. And what I like is when I did the exercise with oxygen therapy, the machines you've got are offering me the chance as a consumer to do something called move in a bilateral way, right? So these bilateral brain movements on the bike are giving me a 2-for-1 punch with oxygen, high super concentrated oxygen, and bilateral brain movements supporting BDNF, which is brain-derived neurotrophic growth factor. So I'm like, I can feel good about that 15 minutes I just spent breathing in good air.
Yeah, and it doesn't require intense exercise. You know, when you just get high concentrated oxygen into your system, your cells will start to absorb that. With moderate exercise, they vacillate, and oxygen can pass through them more easily. So with that deep breathing of the highly concentrated oxygen, you're also providing a cleaning system. So you're cleaning out cells or cell damage or cell death and letting it be pushed out.
That's so wonderful. we all get these things, they call them reactive oxygen species. That's just through going through life. That happens. It's our bodies are kind of like machines. Sounds like that's a really neat and gentle way to support our machines and prevent them from rusting out early.
For sure. And stuff gets stuck. Like we don't get enough movement. We don't get enough clarity, and we have a lot of pollutants in our air. So getting that big oxygen push, it's so nice when you've been exposed to colds, sicknesses, flus, COVID, or whatever, to just get that extra boost, just clear it out. And for me, I feel like my immune system improves the more I use the system. I've been using it consistently for 2 years now, and I try to hit it about 1 to 3 times a week for that 15 minutes. And I get that dual benefit like you spoke about. And I personally feel like my immune system is far greater than it used to be. And I'll have like family members get sick, and I rarely get anything anymore. Not to say that it's a direct correlation, but I do think there's something to it, that I'm keeping my cells healthy and my body oxygenized.
Oh, yeah, that's wonderful. And I'm sure the more you work out, you're getting endorphins, which are those pleasurable, feel-good hormones. And sounds like the oxygen has that antimicrobial, antiviral effect too at that high percent, 93%. So,
Well, if you think about it, when someone gets sick and they go to the hospital and they're in the ICU, the first thing they do is put them on oxygen.
yeah.
You know, every good nurse or doctor will tell you that's the first medicine they get, is that highly concentrated oxygen starts to help the body, help the cells. We just add a little boost. You add a little exercise to it. And the pre-filled bag, we fill them up for you before you come. That would take all day to breathe that in if you were just dripping that oxygen in like if you're at a hospital. Instead, you're getting an entire bag in 15 minutes, maybe 20 if you're taking your time. So for me, it's a win-win. It's simple. It's easy to integrate. It's similar to the benefits you get from hyperbaric chamber without the hours of commitment
Oh, yeah.
and cost as well.
Well, and I know you guys have been gracious and helped me because I was fumbling around with my mask initially and it felt awkward and I was busy and harried. And I'm like, I don't know how to put this on. But they've been so kind in walking me through how to use that. Given that we live at high elevation, I think it's all the more important that that be one of the primary medicines in our wellness journey.
Yeah, and it does take a minute to get used to those masks. They're not too complicated after a few tries. We're happy to help people as long as they need.
That's good.
I got the feedback, put a mirror in here. Duh. So we put a mirror in there. It kind of helps. So after a few tries, it's not too bad.
I like it. Way to help support peak performance, no doubt.
So another service that we offer is neurofeedback. Now,
Tell me about that.
neurofeedback it's a computer. We'll have some probes that we put on people's scalp and ears, and it listens to the brain waves coming in, and it gives response. It gives feedback back to the body.
When you say probe, I think invasive.
It's not invasive.
Oh, good.
So there are systems that have tons of probes, but the systems that are for consumers that we have been distilled. They've taken them down to a practical level where you still get a great benefit in way less setup, way less time. It only takes a few minutes to set it up.
And I've had it done. It's not like puncturing anything. It's just like sensors on your earlobes, some in your head, on your head, on your scalp, right? You don't feel any electricity. So it's actually very gentle and innocuous.
It's super gentle. We have 2 systems. The system that we have consumer facing where you can set up yourself is called NeuroOptimal. It's designed to be, you can learn how to put it on and come in whenever you want and do it yourself. We have another system called Brain Paint. It's a little more directive where you'd need a staff member to help you with it. And that one can help different channels, different pathways. So depending on how severe of a symptom you're working through, you may want to try the other system, but the majority of people can see a great benefit with just the NeuroOptimal system.
And after maybe 1-2 times with your staff helping, then they could self-direct that process and run
Absolutely.
NeuroOptimal. Okay.
And we have a tutorial
cool.
video they can watch just as a refresher right on the screen. So watch this video step by step if they need it. But we're also more than willing to be here and help people. But part of the self-directed benefit is we can keep the cost down.
I got that.
Neurofeedback in itself, if you were to go and just say down to Ogden Valley or Ogden, you're gonna be paying $100 to $150 per session, and there'll be someone there to set you up, but it's going to take 15, 20 plus sessions to have those benefits really stick. That becomes a big financial commitment.
Oh, and not to mention a time thing. So what I'm hearing you say is that you have two systems that can be used, and the neural optimal can be used for self-directed neurofeedback. It's important that you do a frequency of what, once a week?
So it's the frequency is less important than the quantity.
Okay.
So it's like learning new skills. So if you want to learn how to be a snowboarder and you go up one time per ski season, you're not going to progress very fast.
Right.
But if you go up 10 times per ski season, by the end of the season, you're going to be snowboarding like a champ. So neurofeedback is building connections. It's helping your brain rewire neuronic connections. So the more you do it, the more those connections solidify. The
That's so
bigger the
important.
gap between, then they won't be as solid. So if you haven't snowboarded in 3 years, you're not going to be very good when you come back. You still remember how, it just won't be as strong.
Okay, so this is like brain retraining. Kind of people that go to the gym, right? They want to tear their muscle fibers in a certain way in order to bulk up. And if I were to apply that same metaphor to this whole concept of neurofeedback, if I go in a consistent manner, breaking apart circuits, reforming circuits, is that what's happening?
It's very similar. So essentially what you have is your brain, say you have a lot of anxiety and you're an anxiety person. Your brain doesn't know what to do. It'll like, all right, I'm kind of frizzing out. It doesn't know how to overcome the anxiety very well. So the feedback will say, hey, go over here. Here's some neurons over here that are functioning. Come over here and connect over in this other spot. And it doesn't feel as anxious over here in the brain. So it trains the brain to go to a new area and make a new neuronic connection. However, the old connections are still pretty strong.
Yes.
You've been living with anxiety a long time. You've used those old pathways a long time. So they're still going to be in position one, like predominant position. But you've got a new position that's in secondary or maybe third position that's growing. So the more you reinforce the neuronic connections with neurofeedback, eventually it overtakes the old path. So the less you use the old path, the less it's going to be in first.
Oh, I love this.
And eventually you take new position and your brain's like, you know what? I don't have to go the anxious path anyway. I can go this way. So most people see that change, or they see it effectively after 1 to 5 visits. They start to say, oh, I feel different. But it doesn't stick. It doesn't stay in primary position until someone's gone 15, 20 plus times.
Oh, wow.
And that's also requires you having a mindset to let go of the old anxiety. So there's a piece of your belief, the way you think, the way you see will shape your pathology. So if you start letting yourself go the other path, I can relax. I can feel good. I can survive without that heavy anxiety.
I appreciate that you're helping give people a little bit more understanding of like the practical application of this really neat thing. I used it twice. The first time I felt that sort of magnetic draw of the machine, if you will, the neurofeedback, inviting new things to fire. And my whole stance energetically and mentally for that whole afternoon into the weekend was a little different.
Right.
It was palpable. The next week I came back in and then I found myself weeping. I'm in your chairs weeping. And I'm like, okay, this is good. I can tell it's moving things. I've had complex trauma, but what I find fascinating, because for me, it's like the game whack-a-mole,
Right.
the healing journey. I'll find something that's effective, like neurofeedback or psychedelic medicine, and I start to move mountains of things that allow release. And then I'm going to shy away from it because I'm over here and I'm just like, wait, but I've got to control my life. I've got to do this thing. I can't afford to feel right now. So how do you deal with that when consumers maybe have trauma? They want to come in, they get support, but then they get a little scared, right? Because you're taking them into new territory mentally.
Yeah, there's always going to be platitudes where we feel like we can grow to a certain level, then we need to like be content for a while. Yeah. And some people they'll do neurofeedback really intensely, really fast, and they'll just crank it out. They might do 20, 30 sessions in a month. and they'll move a lot. And that's great. If you can do it, great. But if you can only do 2 or 5 sessions and you got a platitude for a minute, you're not going to forget that skill. It's still going to be there. So if you can work through those ancillary issues or struggles and then come back to it.
I like it. I played in the woods as a kid, and I'm instantly thinking about the bike path we always took, right? You know, it's clear of the branches and the bushes. It's the well-beaten path. But we might decide to make a foray into some new willows and like start to clear the brush. And, you know, we can revisit that, but it might take several weeks to come back and decide we're going to go all the way over into these new willows and carve a new path.
And the more you do that and use the other one less, eventually the other one will overgrow. And we see that terminology in therapy too. People go to therapy and they'll say, hey, cognitive behavioral therapy is great. However, it's going to take you 25, 30 plus sessions for these new ways of thinking to root. The benefit to me in neurofeedback is very passive. You don't have to do much other than have a good intention. You know, set a goal, a belief in the pathology you're trying to improve, allow yourself to move into those channels. And there's a ton of science behind this. A ton of science. I mean, this thing could fly a spaceship, but it's been shrunken down into the palm of your hand. This technology that's been developed for the last 40 years and condensed from major universities like Caltech and others. Now it's in the palm of your hand. You can get it for like $12 a session here if you have a pass.
Wow. For $12 a session, you can have a completely new mental landscape. That's pretty cost effective.
Well, and when we first brought it here, we priced it higher because we were like, well, we need to make some money on this. It's still, these machines cost us a lot of money. We're talking $30,000 in equipment.
Wow.
But at the same time, we want people to use it. And if the price tag is stopping someone from having an experience, then Nicole and I don't believe in that. We want to have the experience, and the experience will drive more people to want to come use it and more families to be connected and more kids to heal from things. So for Nicole and I, it's not about making a big profit. It never has been. Okay. If we can break even, awesome. If we can make a little bit extra, great. But that's not our driver. Our driver is to help our communities heal so we can all win together and grow together.
You guys have been so gracious and led by heart, and I really feel that in the container you've made here at Corner Cove Wellness. And for people like me that have thrown countless thousands of dollars at talk therapy and all the other forms of therapy, to just be able to like lay in the chair by myself, get set up, have the blanket on, and watch my brain process old history. It's pretty profound. And then maybe it would be even better, like the icing on the cake, to go sit in the sauna, sweat out whatever visual imagery I collected on that path, and then, leave it on the yoga mat, something like that. This is like such a wonderful synergy of offerings you have here.
Thank you. I appreciate that, and I'm grateful for it. It's an opportunity for us to connect and help people as well as help ourselves. The best thing about being in the healing industry is you're really kind of selfish. Like, we do these things to help ourselves, and by giving them to other people, they come back. That's awesome. One last piece with the neurofeedback. We've had people come and just do 1 or 2, 3 sessions, and then, it didn't work for me, or it's not enough, or the attitude wasn't right. Like, we had a mom-daughter come for a while, and the daughter's like, I hate this. I don't want to be here. This sucks. Well, it's not going to be very effective if that's your mentality. And if you don't at least put in the time to really absorb it. And then we've had others where their mother, son, or so whatever, and the son's like, this is fun, I'm enjoying it. And they're growing well, and they're improving quickly. We had one young man that he was really struggling with eye contact and connection. It felt almost like he had some spectrum issues going on that didn't exist prior to getting some things happen in his life, which I won't disclose, but after just a few sessions, his eye contact's improved. He's connecting, he's conversing better. So him and his mom they're here constantly. They're going to get that 20, 25 sessions. So if you think about it, at like $12 a credit, you can get out 20, 25 sessions affordably, which if you were going to to Ogden, you're going to be spending 10 times that.
Plus time and gas. And to speak to that, experience where somebody maybe is resistant, I see that a lot in my coaching practice. And that's why I do multimodal coaching, because there's a multitude of inroads to well-being creation that an individual can take. And I want them to drive the train, right? So if it isn't neurofeedback, well, maybe yoga is the inroad that day or that week. Or maybe it is breath work, or maybe they just need to sweat it in your sauna and cold plunge. And perhaps it's that they're so cellularly depleted that they're not going to do anything until we get some methylated B vitamins on board. True. It could be a number of factors, right? So I think for me, with the perspective I have at Mentally Real, it's stay curious, and a little bit of willingness goes a long way. And if a door is locked and you're just resistant, honor it. Find another inroad. Like, some of us are stubborn.
Oh, so much. Yeah, true. And there's so much power in being curious, just being willing to have options. When we lock ourselves to like boxes, which can happen with diagnosis, or I guess I'm just going to be like this forever, or whatever. Whenever we put like a definitive around something, we lose curiosity. We lose the ability to have an option to heal.
Right. Well, and nervous systems are tricky, right? What causes shutdown because of a trauma response may vary from day to day in an individual. We might not know that all of a sudden that's giving a flashback to have somebody come at their ears or whatever. So be self-compassionate always, and understand here you're getting access to super affordable but powerful tools that can transform your whole outlook and thereby your life and your health span.
So there's this, when I was early in my therapy career, I came across, it was a poem or a story, I'm not sure, but it was called The Wounded Healer. And I can remember bits and pieces of it, but essentially the juxtaposition was, to be a healer, you have to go through some stuff, and you have to kind of come through the other side and be within arm's length of the person behind you to help them come through. I think there's a misnomer, even in therapy, that you need to be like Sigmund Freud and this really smart person to help someone on a couch, right? I don't believe that at all. I believe that I just need to be healing enough that I can reach back, and I'm no longer in a trauma state, but I am not far enough removed that I don't remember what it's like. I need to still be close enough to it. And one of the benefits I see with you as a coach is you've been through so much of your own journey, and it's not that far removed. It's not that far back, but I also don't see you as someone who's putting your trauma on someone or your struggle on someone, because you've healed enough that you're empowering people. Can you speak to that?
I appreciate that. Well, astrologically speaking, yeah, that's the Chiron aspect of all of us have places in our lives where wounding occurs, and where we have the opportunity. The wound can either be the place where the light comes in, or it can be the thing that repeats the dominoes cascading and falling. And I'm not perfect, right? But I do believe I have a goal, an overarching desire to use the lessons that I've been taught through adversity to shorten the suffering of others. And say, hey, you may try this, and hey, right here on the path is a trip hazard, and here's what was really pivotal at a critical time postpartum for me to be able to survive suicidal ideation that I felt like was coming from a brain whose electrical circuit board was glitching over and over and over again. And at that time, I was not aware that it was B vitamin folate, like it was like a gear stuck and sparking. Go figure, right? So I appreciate that you feel like I'm not going to be putting the trauma on folks, but yeah, it's not too far removed from it. My history is still right there, and I'm living the ramifications of poor choices made in life. That's okay. I still have some things to share, hopefully.
And I bring it up because there is a stigma. There's a stigma with coaching. And when I was going through therapy school, they beat up on coaches a lot. Well, they didn't get trained. They don't have the training. They're out there sharing their stuff without healing their stuff. You're not that. I know you well enough to know that's not true. And I think a lot of coaches aren't that either. What you look for in a coach is someone who walks the talk, who has been through a lot, but is no longer holding on to that as their I don't know, their cross to bear. They've given it up. You have to get to know someone, and getting to know you through these mediums in person and on podcasting, you can find a connection. So if someone's listening and they're connecting to you, they're genuinely feeling you, they should work with you.
It would be great fun. And I think that my favorite clients are the ones who've tried everything, who are as stubborn as I am, because if there's anything I know about, it's the language of resistance. And I would love to help them find that wee bit of willingness. And they're going to be the captain of their ship. But I definitely have lots of information, and I'm well connected with other healers, and I know when to refer out. I don't claim to diagnose, treat. I can help them learn to better listen to their body and decode their symptom set so that they might go back to the drawing board and try another thing. Because to me, suicide prevention is all about that. Like, stay curious, go back, tinker with the environment and the laboratory of your life, stay in the fight. It's not just a promise to live. It's not a platitude of like, call 988, Sorry, for me, it's much more active, and it requires my clients to be willing to engage. And then they know that they have me. I'm not going to judge them. Judgment-free accountability is what health coaching is about.
For sure. Yeah, I think you see people with some stigmas and some fears. How's this going to go? I know for me, working with young counselors and coaches in my industry, there's always this fear of, well, am I going to make it worse? Am I going to make things worse for this person? Or I have to stay in my lane and I can't talk about this thing or that thing. And research around trauma-informed care will tell you the biggest thing is just being present with someone. Yeah. Don't run away from it. If someone brings up something that's hard or they're struggling with, and you immediately say, hey, you know what? Call 988. They're more likely to go do something bad than they are to make that phone call. But if you're present with them and you work through that with them, they're more likely to stay in their body, stay in this world, and keep working through their things. They need that connection.
Yeah, I think that just being witnessed sometimes and asking permission, right? Because people who've been through things that are traumatic often feel that their autonomy has been erased. And so through person-centered coaching, they're in the driver's seat, and the conversation will hopefully remind them of that often. Like, where do you want to go next? Are we talking about home-cooked meals? Are we talking about your relationship today? It's the whole life.
Right.
It's all of it. And it's not, I don't have to be the expert in your life. You do. You have to be willing to be held lovingly accountable for the goals you're going to set for yourself. And I'm going to be that person who's like, oh, yeah, been there. Do you want me to share this research paper with you? Do you want me to share what I've heard about that might work in this condition? And of course, there's appropriate work with your care team, disclaimers around it. And I get why people are skeptical of coaches, because it's not a licensed credential. It's anybody, and anybody can call themselves a coach, from the business coach to the peak performance athletic coach, right?
Right. And they wouldn't exist if there wasn't a need. And that's something I think we need to remember. There is a mass need for help. There's a mass need for support. There's a mass need to reduce suicidality and chronic illnesses and everything, you can name it. There's a mass need. So as a counselor working through trying to help people, I find that there's so much work that it's high burnout. Most clinicians in my industry in mental health, they last about 3 to 5 years max.
So short. For all that training and
all
money
that training,
invested.
all that money. So they don't necessarily quit the industry, but they might move into administration and don't see clients anymore, or do something ancillary that their degree helps with, but they stop working in the trenches. Where life experience, peer support, coaches, oftentimes they're in the trenches because they just got out of the trenches, and they can really relate, that relatability and that connection piece. And I love that you're like resilient, and you're not going to quit. You're going to give it up. You're not going to give up on people. And that wit of willingness that you talk about, when someone feels that you care, that's the majority of work that needs to be done for someone to engage in that relationship of trust.
So to know that they're valued, that they matter. And because I view myself as an extension of the medical workforce of licensed professionals, but I don't have that title or the white coat, you'll find that I tend to attract clients who would not otherwise help seek. And that's good for communities, and that's good for individuals and families, because they can trust me because I'm just one of them.
Yep.
But I maybe have mastered the art of conversation and hopefully bring that whimsy to some hard topics, because character strengths matter. And I know mine, and that's part of the coaching, is we maybe can help you unearth your character strengths and leverage those through the process of change, because change is great. Transitions are really, really difficult.
You know, that's really where the work is. It's the transitions, it's the time put in. Many times I'll see clients come in and they'll work with me for a while. They're working my program for a while. And while they're in a contained system, they show a lot of growth. They do really well. But it's that handoff to the rest of their life. Have they built the routines that stick? Have they surrounded themselves with good connection and good support? Have they re-engaged with people who they can grow with? And if they can't say yes to several of those, the likelihood of all that work we did sticking is low.
It's very low.
Not that it's not forgotten, because there's still things that they can gain and learn from it. But a lot of my work is, how do we transition you? Can we get you with a good coach? Can we get you with a good outpatient therapist? Can we get you in your communities? Are you going to support meetings of any kind? Are you hanging out with your friends again that are healthy? Are you engaging in work that increases your likelihood to stay healthy? Or are you working the night shift and burning your brain out and you're worn out? Like, you just got to look at all those factors where a coach can go in the trenches. Counselors and therapists often won't, or they don't have the capacity or time, just like a doctor doesn't have a time to go in your home and check out your eating routines.
Yeah. It's a constraint within the managed care system, what insurances pay and reimburse for, right? And also it's, I think, a beautiful thing for me. I've always hired a coach. I have often had a health coach or a business coach or a mindset coach, depending on where I'm at in life, because I know that because of early adversity and the wiring that I have, it's going to be extra important for me to be very mindful of my activities of daily living. So I wouldn't ask my clients to do anything that I don't do myself. Yeah, I think you should hire a coach if you want to optimize your mental well-being or physical well-being, because it's more likely, you said, to stick. In the Mentally Real program, we lay some foundations, and that's what can hold you when crisis happens. A crisis like divorce, a crisis like losing a child, something like that. You've got to have these rote, built-in patterns, and your brain will do that for you. We are creatures of habit. So if you build those habits with somebody who's an expert in creating good habits to support you, then when things fall apart, you don't lose everything good you've ever paid for to learn.
That's so true. And that's a space of meeting people where they're at and giving them that outlet. I look at like recovery programs, the AA program. Their biggest strength is the sponsor. You know, people talk about go to the meetings, go to the meetings, go to the meetings. But what they really go to the meetings for is to find an accountability partner, a sponsor. Oh, yeah. So when they're having that crisis, because there's always a crisis, there's always something that comes up, the first number they call is their sponsor. It's not their spouse. It's not their kids. It's not their boss. It's their sponsor. It's that person who's already been in the trenches with them. All right, walk me through this. Mm-hmm. So walk us through what's your program like? You've given us a good outline of the one-on-one. What if someone say, all right, I'm going to work with Celeste. What are they going to get with you?
Yeah, so everybody has the opportunity to go to my website, www.iammentallyreal.com. That's REAL, and book a free discovery call with me. Or you can email me or text or phone call. I want to be available. And in that discovery process, I'm going to have you fill out some paperwork that tells me about how you ate as a child, how you eat now, what symptoms you're having, what your goals are. we'll talk about that on the discovery call. And then I'll invite you to learn more about either my Mentally Real Foundations program, which is 12 weeks front end loading to sort of create a better container for behavior change. Or you can dive right into the Pro Vitality program, which is a 6-month program, very high touch, personalized. It would include your genetic testing so that you get some supplement recommendations to talk to your doctor about that are based on your unique physiology. And then from there, if you just want one-off integration support after you've graduated a program, you get a discount on that. If you're just somebody who received a life-changing diagnosis or something terrible happened and you want to talk it through, you can book a 1-hour session to talk it through with a peer who maybe has been there. So that's kind of the program in a nutshell.
That's fantastic, Celeste. I feel like from what I've experienced with you and how you do your approach, I'd be running to you if I was listening to this. Like if I was in a similar situation or some of the pieces you've talked about, that's where I'd be going. And to know you too, you don't take a lot of clients. You focus on a niche group. You try to be that one-on-one available coach from what I've seen. That's so wonderful. You're willing to put that in and give that to people.
Yeah, because I want people to have success. So I think that it's very important. And on that health history call, we're going to gauge your readiness for change, right? Don't come to me until you're ready to do the hard work of meeting yourself over and over again and retrying that thing you wanted to do over and over again. And that's, I think part of where the magic lies is come to me when you're frustrated, you're at the end of your rope, and let's get you to the other side.
Yeah, I think I look at that in my industry, working with a lot of addiction recovery. I can't help people that aren't ready to change. Yeah. I can talk about it. I can run really fast. I can try really hard. I can give them all kinds of tools. But if they haven't come to that realization yet, the acceptance that they need support, they need help, it's not much I can do. And I feel like you got that same vibe.
Well, it's from that motivational interviewing framework, right, where we can give individuals this whole concept of like, what do you desire? What's your ability to execute on that desire? What is the reason that you have to do that thing you desire? Necessity. Is everyone going to leave you if you don't stop drinking? Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah, I mean,
connect it back to them and their life.
Yeah, looking at that piece, we'll assess, is someone in a state of contemplation? Are they kind of thinking about it? Are they ready to take some action? Have they had enough pain? They say, all right, I'm going to do something different. Or are they middling? Are they lukewarm? And we can say that about ourselves and in any area we want to change. Am I lukewarm around my watching TV at night and losing sleep? Yes, I'm lukewarm. Do I lose enough sleep to the point where I'm like, I feel like crap? Now I'm getting like hot. Like I need to stop this. I need to change. And unfortunately for me and for probably a lot of us, we wait till things become chronic or we lose a lot. Like life just starts to overwhelm and we've lost important relationships or important things to the point where we're like, all right, I'm going to change. And in addiction terminology, they'll say like when someone's hit rock bottom. There's another way of looking at that. If you don't want to wait till you hit rock bottom, you could start looking at how to raise the bottom up.
Yeah.
And improve through purpose and seeking motivations. What would my life look like if I did go to bed on time and I did wake up early and I did have more energy to spend with my children? And it's feeding those energies of possibilities and change.
Yes. I love that. And from self-disclosure, I was at this really interesting decision point. I could decide to be destructive because something terrible had happened when I had an infant. I had no idea how to care for her. And believe me, there was desire for revenge. But you know what I did instead? I did the DBT scale of opposite to emotion action, and I got online. I found an Institute for Functional Medicine health coach who needed her practicum, so I got discounted health coaching, and I raised the bottom up. I'm like, oh, somebody, mama's going to give somebody a talking to. I better start eating some fiber, or this is going to get real fast. So that's what I did. I took a hold of what I could change, which was I could choose neuroinflammation reducing foods. I could choose crunchy things to channel the energy of anger into. How chompy I'm going to be with that celery and kale, right? Nobody died that day, besides a few cruciferous
He
vegetables.
crunched them to death.
And so we always have these opportunities. Move the needle. Which way are you going to move the needle? Towards health, harm.
Yeah, I mean, and it's those little perspectives you have to choose. You have to choose if you're going to engage in more pain or more purpose. You learn on your own. Like sometimes I look at parenting with my own children, like I can see the cliff. My wife says it too. Hey, there's a cliff there. Don't jump off it. But unless they go and experience that, they're not going to hit their bottom, or they're not going to figure out what they really need. So we have to back off a little bit and let them experience that. And we do that to ourselves. And there's sayings you hear like, oh, youth is wasted on the young, and time changes all things. And those are things you don't really understand until you've been through them, a lot of us.
And maybe one conversation can change a life, right? One thing can be that interrupting thing that stops tragedy from rippling into future generations.
One thing I do know is that we don't spend enough time with people. We don't connect enough, and we don't show people love in the way they need to see it. And that goes to ourselves too. So even if that's what we can do now is, let's work on taking care of ourselves. Let's work on loving ourselves.
Yeah. And so now you know how to book at cornercovewellness.com. Start with the consultation. Jared and Nicole would love to meet you and help you access all these great tools to begin where you're at, alchemizing anger, alchemizing defeat, whatever it is. They've got the way to help you find that little bit of willingness at the cellular level.
And I want to just add to that, and thank you for that, is you said light comes through the wound a while ago. I really do believe that. I believe when we've been wounded, when we've been hurt emotionally, spiritually, even physically, if we let light come in, light can heal. But for light to come in, we have to be able to be allowed to feel vulnerable and feel loved and feel like we can connect. I believe we create that here at Corner Cove, and I believe you do that in your coaching as well.
Yeah, well, here to receiving people in their beautiful totality, imperfect beings that we all are.
Thank you, Celeste.
Yeah, good to visit with you, Jared.
Well, we appreciate you listeners. We appreciate the time you took. And if you'd like to seek out more information, check out Celeste on her website. Check out Corner Cove on our website. Follow us on our socials.